Torah Or, Parshas Vayetzei, page Chof Aleph, first column, 6 lines in the end of the first column. Okay, now the Rebbe is explaining that the level of Yaakov is Yud, okay, the level of Chochmah all the way down into the lowest level, from Beersheba to Choron, Charei Naf Shamokim, Tzavi Yeshuas Yaakov, Yaakov Avinu connects the Shin Ayin, there's 370 revelations of the Kus all the way down to the lowest, the levels, and what Yaakov did was he took stones, that's the last thing we're learning, pluralism, and he made it into one. As was discussed also last night, correct. At least somebody was listening. Nevertheless, the source of the chayus of the world only comes in the level of Malchus, which is Devar Hashem, which is the word of Hashem. Like we learned many times, Malchus is a level of Dibur, because the king rules with speech. So therefore the chayus of Elokus that makes the world exist is a level of Dibur of Malchus. Malchus kol elamim. And because the world, the universe at large, is still a limited thing. There is a limit to the understanding and grasping of the world. Like it says, the Gemara says, from the earth to heaven is 500 years. The space of each heaven is 500 years. The space in between each heaven is 500 years. And then you have all these things. And therefore, even the world, as massive as the universe is, it's still limited. And therefore has no connection whatsoever to an infinite level of Hashem. Because the highest finite is still nothing compared to infinite. So the question is, if godliness which is infinite, how can godliness which is infinite sustain a finite world if there's no connection between infinite and finite? So the Rebbe explains that's why it goes through Malchus. Malchus is that level of Elokus that limits the infinite level of Elokus, that now it can come down in a finite form to give existence to the finite world. They can only get their existence from the word of Hashem, which are which are the letters that Hashem created Shemayim V'Aretz. How did Hashem create Shemayim? With the letters Shin, Mem, Yud, Mem. How did He create Aretz? With the letters Aleph, Reish, Tzadik. How did He create Or, Aleph, Vav, Reish, and so on. Shem Bechinas Daim, in which these letters, like you said before, letters are like stone, right? The Sefer Yetzirah says Avonim is like letters are like stones. Stones are inanimate objects. Even when you speak, and you want to transmit an intellectual concept, the letters really have nothing to do with the concept. It's just a certain formation of the letters in a certain style brings out an intellectual concept or an emotional feeling, but it really has nothing to do with the seichel or the midas, for that matter. Shem Bechinas Daim and the Gabi Erin Sabah, which are like inanimate compared to Hashem. Like it says, Kadesh Hashem Tzvokis, Ukamayim Razal, Eisa B'tziv Shalei. Meaning is like a sign in his legions. Av Shem Elef Alafim Elef Avlam Shum Shemeni. V'ri B'rivam Kadmoi, like it says, Ayish Mirth B'legados of Im Kolzeh, nevertheless. Even though seemingly seem to be an infinite amount of creations, nevertheless, Im Kolzeh Mi'ach Hashem Bali Gvul. Because they're limited, Chayusam Einem Bechinas Eis Echad Bulvad. Therefore, they're still limited. Granted, there's a massive universe that seems to be infinite, but the bottom line is it's finite. Therefore, it's getting its existence from one letter of Hashem's mouth. Bidvar Hashem Shemayim Nasim, with one word. Shuvachinas Daimim Lagamri, which is completely nothing and inanimate. Lagabi Shem Havaya compared to the name of Havaya, which is Ein Sof Kanal. By the way, it's an interesting thing. We mentioned yesterday that in the Mayim Rabbim, the Rabbi asked the question, how is it possible for a finite world handle infinite creations, right? That's what we said. And the Rebbe says Sarachin Gadol. But later, my modern, the Rebbe explained that if the gvul, if the limited, is mamish bottle to Hashem, mamish nullified, so therefore it is not a limited existence anymore. In other words, by nature it's a limited existence. But the fact that it makes itself completely bottled to Hashem, that means it's really infinite. And therefore you can have a finite amount of creations because they're bottled to Hashem you can have an infinite amount of creations in a finite world. Because they're all bottled to Hashem, so it's not finite, it's not infinite, it is Hashem. Vinay, Ishtaushlis, Kol Oilam is the chain of all the worlds, Atzilas, B'ri, all those worlds. B'ri, B'ravavis, Madregas, in the tens of thousands of levels, Toli HaKel, so what's the difference between one level and the next? The difference is in the combination of the letters. Like you can have two letters, Aleph, Beis, yeah? You put it Aleph, Beis, it means father. Beis, Aleph, means come. That means both the letters Aleph and Beis. Yeah? One means father, one means come. So he says that all the things that words accomplish is based on the combination of the letters. If it's Aleph, Beis, it means father, Beis, Aleph means come. So, but the same letters. So it all depends, the Rebbe is saying, on the combination, the way the letters are, the formation of the word. Therefore, it's interesting. Chassidus explains that sometimes you have in Chumash, the Balaturm says this a lot. These letters is the same letters as this. Different word, but same letters as this, so it has a connection between the two. But it is a different combination of the letters. But the fact that they're the same letters means there's a connection between the two. The only difference is in the combination, the style of combination of the letters. Okay? So therefore, what did Yaakov Avinu want to accomplish? The Rebbe is explaining at great length, what does it mean, Avnei Hamokim? The Avonim, the stones, the letters, is the highest of the whole diversity of the world. Right? That's all the different creations. Infinite creations were created through various different combinations. So what did Yaakov Avinu want? Yaakov Avinu wanted to elevate all the letters of the world, meaning every single creation that has different levels because of different formations. He wanted to elevate them to godliness. Therefore he took from the stones of the place Shem Asis, which are a lot of letters, pluralism. And he made into one stone, which is the letter Yud. And that's what it says, that Yosef Mirashesov. That's why he put it, Mirashesov, around his head, meaning, just like down here by a person. Yes, seichel umidas. There's seichel umidas, like intellect, emotions. Vayetzei malbishim are garments with the seichel shemistabish b'hem. In other words, garments, like we learned. Why is thought, speech, and action called garments? Because basically, under normal circumstances, a person could only reveal himself while they're wearing clothing. They can't reveal themselves if they're naked. They have to reveal themselves with clothing. So clothing basically is the tool that a person is able to reveal himself. Now, how do you reveal intellect or emotions? So, a person knows something, yeah, but it's hidden in the brain, right? How do you reveal those things? So if you think it, you reveal it to yourself. Speak it, I reveal it to you. And action, writing, would reveal it into something else. So they're basically garments. Or if somebody has a feeling for somebody, yeah, but they're at work. They're not thinking about the person they love. They're working. Their mind is occupied in something else. So the midah is there, but it's not revealed. So how do you reveal? So if you think about them, the midah is revealed to you. Speak to them, whatever, I love you, what it is, or do an action. So speech thought, speech, and act, but primarily here he's talking about speech, are the garments that reveal intellect and emotions. In other words, Hashem had a power, let's say, to create light. But that power wasn't revealed. So when Hashem spoke, Aleph, Vav, Reish, Yehi, Or, that revealed the power of Hashem that he had, and it became. So that's the chayus of the object. You have the level of intellect, the 3 levels, Chachma, Bina, and Das, and the 7 midas. But over there, he's a level of Chachma without known Chachma, or like the Alter Rebbe explained in the Maimon Pasuk Yo that we learned, Hashem has these midas, Hantu Chakim. We say, Hashem, you have Chachma, but not our known level of Chachma. So over there, Pasuk Yo, the Alter Rebbe explained what it means is, you are the source of Chachma. You're not Chachma. You're not tangible Chachma. That begins in Bria. The level of Chachma of Atzilus means it's the source of Chachma. But it itself is Leiba Chachma Yediyah. Not an our known level of Chachma, which is a tangible Chachma, it's the source of it. So he said, because over there is the Yichud Bitul B'Tachlis. Over there in Atzilus, everything is completely bottled. You don't feel Chachma, Bina, Chesed, Gvura. All you feel is Elokus. And the Oris and the Kalim of Atzilus are one with Hashem. Is Dvar Hashem. What is the level of Dvar Hashem? Is the letters. Shebahem Islavin Chabad Midas. That takes the Seichel and Midas of Atzilus and brings it down in a limited form to create worlds. Because even a Seichel and Midas, let's say you know something and you speak it, you're limiting the Seichel that you really understand. You're limiting it into words. Or if somebody has a Midah, I love you, yeah? And then you say, I love you, shh, I love you, that is revealing the love, but it's very limiting. It's a limitation of the love. The love is much more than the words I love you, even if you mean them. It's still a limited level of love. Huh? Even if you mean it. Which is Nukudiktana. This that Mirames Alayeshabay Mislabish Chochma, which is Ayon Betul Betachos. So what's the letter Yud? Yud is a level of Chochma, which is a level of Betul. Vayetzei, and then you have the second letter of Yud Kevav Kehei, which is Ispashkus Erech Verechev, there's a length and a width. Mirumet, which depicts Al Shabba Lavush Lebechinas Bina, it's the garment of Bina. In other words, like this. Yud Kevav Kehei, we know Yud is Chochma, Hei is Bina. Vav is the 6 fetus and Hei is Malchus. So those letters reveal Chachma, Bina, 6 meters, and Malchus. Well, K'mei Kein Shada, he says the same thing, all the other letters. Shebehem Mislav Shemchinas Midas Solyenis, that the Midas are in, because in the 6 days of creation, the first day Hashem created with Chesed. Second day Gvura, right? So all the creations of the first day are connected to the Midah of Chesed. That means all those creations, i.e. the words that Hashem's Kaviyachal said to create creations of Chesed are the vehicle for Chesed. Second day, the creations were Gevura. So they're the Kalim, so the Gevura is the vessel for those creations. That's why Yaakov made from all the stones one, Shu'eis Yud, which is the letter Yud, to elevate him to Chachma. It's interesting, according to Medrash, according to Rashi, Yaakov didn't make the stones into one. I mentioned this last night. Yaakov when he took the stones, the Medrash said that Rashi brings it down. They were starting to fight. The stones were fighting because each one wanted Yaakov's head on it. Okay, so what did Hashem do? Hashem is a peacemaker. What did Hashem do? Hashem made all the stones into one. So when he put his head, it was on all the stones, basically. Yeah, one stone. But here the Alter Rebbe is explaining Yaakov Avinu made it into one. Now, according to Medrash, Hashem made them all into one, which is really the same thing. Momayla lamato or mamata lamaila. You know, the fact that Hashem did it gave Yaakov Avinu the koyach to make from the pluralism of avnei amokim to make it even achas, to make it one stone. And then, as I achakach for Yosef Mesa Matzeva, what did Yaakov Avinu do with this rock, the stone? The pasuk says he made it a monument. What is a monument? Like the letter Vav. It's from up to down. That's what it is. There's Eiz Vav Shahal Sebehim Shemabchinas Yud. What did Yaakov Avinu do? He took the Yud into the level of Vav. Lias Slavish Bechinas Chochmi Ilah. That this level, like we said, what is Yaakov? Taking the Yud down into Akev, the highest level of Chochmah, into the lowest level of Hiyah. That's what Yaakov did with the stone. He took the stone, which is Chochmah, and then he brought it down in a matzeva down to the earth, so to speak, down to a lower level. And that he did Bechinas Torah mitzvahs. Keneida, and it's known, Tmunas Eiz Vav. What is a Vav? According to Halacha, in a Sefer Torah, yeah? You have a Yud. A Yud is written a certain way in a Sefer Torah. What is a Vav, according to Halacha, in a Sefer Torah? It's the letter Yud with an extension down. That's the letter Vav, al pi Torah. Right? So what do? It's taking the Chochmah, that's the definition of a Vav. Vav is taking Chochmah and bringing it down to a lower level. And therefore it keeps coming down. The same thing, Torah comes from Chochmah. Torah is a Chochmah of Hashem. And it comes down into a lower level. That explains the next aspect. What did Yaakov Avinu do? He took shemen oresha. He poured oil over the matzeva, over the monument. Vayetzei shemen oresha. What does that mean? Shemen is shemen mishchas kodesh. That kodesh was that above, which is the level of chachma. Like it says shemen mishchas kodesh. Liyas gilu bechinas chachma ilah mamish lemata in the level of matzeva. So what did he do? Shemen also represents chachma. So what did he do? He took oil and poured it on top, and what happened? It came down. Again, the level of Chochmah coming down. So Yaakov is Yud Akev, Chochmah coming down. He made many stones into one. Then he made it into a matzeva, which is again the level of Chochmah coming down. He poured oil over it, which is again the Chochmah coming down. No, we just said, we just said. In the Medrash says Hashem did it, but here the Alter Rebbe is saying Yaakov Avinu made that unity of the stones.
So there were many stones, they became one stone, and he took the one stone and made it matzeva?
Mm-hmm. That's what it says in the book. I mean, even without this mimer.
Is that the stone that is in the...
I don't know, maybe. And then Torah mitzvahs comes even lower. Again, what is Torah? Chachma v'Hashem. Torah has to come into this world. It comes down not only into holy things, but it comes into machlef part of b'chamor. Like the Mishnah says in Bava Kama, a guy exchanged a cow for a donkey. Or this is kosher apostle, it's kosher not apostle. Not only that, like it says in other places. Torah talks about, in Tanya, Torah talks about liars and swindlers. Which means the wisdom of Hashem is coming into the taina of a liar, which is evil. Right? This guy says, I did it, this guy says, I did it, and one of them's a liar. Obviously. Nevertheless, Torah comes down into a level The Chochma of Hashem, the highest level, yeah, comes all the way down. And by the way, it's interesting. While the Torah is talking about liars and swindlers, it's Hashem's Torah that when you learn about the liars and the swindlers, you're connecting to the Chochma of Hashem. That means Aved is to take ultimate level of Kedusha, bring it down, to show that Ein Eid Mulvadi, that the only thing in the world, even the liars and the swindlers and the enemies and the Hamases and all that, is Ein Eid Mulvadi. But the Aved of the Jew is that the world should know it and be aware of it. That's the Aved of the Jew. Im kol zeh yebam gili bechinas chochmi lo mamish k'mei shulamayla. Not only that, it comes out that the same kedusha of chochma is coming down into this low level of the world. K'mayim Razalik, it says in the Gemara, says Ma'al just like by Matan Torah, be'em or b'yira, was with awe and fear. You know, the whole world was trembling and so on. Av kam be'em or b'yira. The same thing when a person learns Torah. You have to have bittul, humility, fear, awe, respect. Just say by Matan Torah and Har Sinai. Haya be'em o be'yira was with awe and fear. Matan Torah was a revelation of godliness, yeah? Never happened before until Mashiach. They heard from the essence of Hashem. Anechi Hashem Elokecha. Can you imagine the Gilui? Av Kan, meaning, Hainu Av Kamesha Torah Mulubeshes Lamata Bidvarim Gash. What is the Gemara saying? Just like by Matan Torah, when they heard from the essence of Hashem, which caused a tremendous level of bittul. So now when a person learns Torah, you have the same level of bittul, because in essence, you're still hearing it from the essence of Hashem. Otherwise, the Gemara has no right to say what it says. The Gemara said, just like by Matan Torah, there was awe, fear, and all that. Same thing now when you learn Torah. The question, what's the comparison? Over there, Hashem revealed himself on the Nech Hashem Lakecha. Of course there was awe and bittul and everything. Now, what we're learning now, what so you have to realize, because that's exactly what's happening. The Gemara says, Kol HaKeira V'Sheina, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Keira V'Sheina connected. The Gemara says, if you sit and learn, Keira V'Sheina means either learning Mikra, Chumash, or Mishnah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Keira V'Sheina, Hashem is sitting right opposite you, learning with you, the same thing you're learning. That means that a person learns Torah, Hashem's presence is mamish next to us. Connected, opposite. And therefore, it's the same level. What Al Rebbe is saying over here is, Yaakov Avinu, when the Chochmah comes down to the lowest level, it's not that Chochmah is really changing. Chochmah, the way it is in the source, is coming down as it is up there into the liars and the swindlers and the kosher and the treif and all that.
But as it comes, it covers itself. It's not.
Yeah, it's all Hashem. So just like it was by Matan Torah, like it says v'asim dvarai. It says when a person learns Torah, the pasuk says, Hashem says, I will put my words in your mouth. That means when we speak, what's the pasuk saying simply? When we speak Torah, it's Hashem speaking the words in my mouth. It's mamish the words of Hashem, like it was by Matan Torah. And that's why we say Noisin HaTorah, not Nosan HaTorah, past tense. Noisin HaTorah means Hashem is continuously giving the Torah. On a continuous basis. And he says, in order for, now how do you have such a gilui of Elokus down here into this low level? So now that Rebbe explains, Yaakov had to do something first. First, he had to elevate the world to a level of godliness. Once the world is elevated to godliness, then godliness can come down into the world. Yes. Yaakov initially had to allow and that's why the pasuk says, by Yaakov, Vayirimeha matzeva. He elevated as a matzeva. You know, Yaakov elevated the stones, and there they became the ability to have a lokus down here. It's similar to what the Gemara says. Gemara says when a baby is still in utero, Malandan say kol Torah kula. It teaches the baby learns the whole Torah, kol Torah kula, all Torah. Okay, then when it's born, it gives the malach comes, in Yiddish called shnella, a whack under the nose, and he makes him forget, and he says, now go learn it yourself. Yeah? So Chassidus asks the question, Al-Mefashim asks the question, so what's the purpose of teaching it if he forgets it anyway? What's the purpose of teaching it? So Chassidus answers, because the fact that a baby, a human being, not a baby, is able to learn Hashem's wisdom, i.e., a finite person is able to learn infinite Torah, how is the person a vessel for that? So that's when they teach the Torah in utero, before the person comes into the world, born. In utero, so then by teaching him the whole Torah, it's elevating that person to a level of Kedusha. Then afterwards he's able to learn Torah down here. And that's what he says Yaakov Avinu did. He elevated the Vayirimeha matzeva. He elevated the stone into a matzeva, elevated it, and that made the world a keli for it. Then when the world, Chochmah, comes down into world, kasha, tray, flyers, and all that, so the world can handle it. The world can learn Torah. Kinot sefer mitchilas in the end is wedged in the beginning, and to that becomes north chilas in the sefer. The beginning is wedged in the end. Shemadrei gayese gavoya, that the highest of levels. Yachol le'ilul ispachid mata kayidur. In other words, what Yaakov Avinu did now, Ma'asav is similar, but what Yaakov Avinu gave the koyach for Yidden at all times, even though it was before Matan Torah. But what Yaakov Avinu did was, he brought the highest levels of Kedusha, Yud, Chochmah, the highest, in not only that, Yud of Chochmah, V'leba Chochmah Yadiyah, only the potential of Chochmah, not actual Chochmah. Yaakov Avinu brought that level of highest Kedusha all the way down, into Akev, into the heel, which is the lowest of the low, that the lowest of the low is able to handle the highest of the high. But how did he do it? By elevating the world. By elevating the world, and then the world now is able to be a keli for it. In practical thing, first, before you learn your daven, like we discussed last night, that's the elevation, the sulam mata l'mayla, going from olim v'yordim, first going up to the levels, and then it comes down. And then, after you elevate yourself, then you can learn Torah, which is bringing Hashem down here.
$1 million.
Exactly.
Yes,